Last week on Legally Kidnapped.
Good evening. Our top story this week: the Oklahoma child protective industry agrees to settle a class action lawsuit against the child advocacy group Children's Rights in regards to children who have been abused while in the state's foster care system. Then they change their minds and delay the decision to settle. Then change their minds again and resumes the discussion on a possible settlement. Then they agree to settle without admitting any wrongdoing. In Arizona this week, a task force of system sucks puts forth their recommendations for child welfare reform to the governor's office. In Iowa, the child protective industry's policy to remove first and ask questions later is coming under the gun as harming families, traumatizing children, and denying the parents their legal rights. Kentucky's legislature is planning to make changes in that state's child welfare system, seeking more transparency in the handling of abuse cases. Child welfare reform tops the Nebraska state legislature's list of priorities this year after a wild and expensive ride into privatization. And the governor of Nebraska holds meetings to discuss the issue while admitting that there are no easy answers to solving the state's child welfare mess. In Alabama this week, immigration agents are raiding homes and threatening children. A woman from Mexico is reunited with her kids after Texas CPS agents try to keep them apart while she was being deported. And U.S. immigration policy contributes more and more kids to the nation's foster care system, with more than 5,000 anchor babies being stuck in limbo while the parents have been deported. In Illinois, Catholic bishops are arguing that gay rights limits freedom of religion. This after several Catholic charities agencies was forced to close their doors for refusing to house and sell your kids to gays. And a New York rabbi is afraid that a Mitt Romney presidency will lead to a homosexualized America and increase child abuse by pushing an immoral, anti-religious, and anti-family gay agenda. In Michigan this week, the state continues its practice of snatching kids from low-income families, while readers of a newspaper debate whether CPS agents are helping or traumatizing kids. According to the federal authorities at the U.S. Accountability Office, African American kids are twice as likely to end up in the United States foster care system as white children, even though there are equal rates of abuse and neglect. And new research from Cornell and the University of Central Oklahoma finds that a fear of divorce is holding back young couples from getting married these days. There's been a big knee-jerk reaction all across the country, resulting in a surge of calls to the child abuse hotline since the Jerry Sandusky Penn State sex abuse scandal broke. Texas CPS agents are talking about their time as kids in the state's foster care system and why they became baby stealers after their own caseworkers were apparently their only role models while growing up. And the state of Connecticut is bringing disciplinary action against 10 state agents for various reasons after clearing 29 others of any wrongdoing. The government of India is putting the pressure on the Norwegian child protective industry after snatching 2 kids from Indian parents over cultural misunderstandings. The foster son of the late Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi was arrested in Tunis after entering that country illegally. The process of American families adopting children from Ethiopia is raising serious legal and ethical concerns surrounding allegations of corruption. In China, pictures of a Chinese octomom stuns the one-child public. In Ireland, a Supreme Court judgment can change the way that adoptions are done in that country forever. And an Irish foster mother writes a book about her decades as a foster mom and her alcoholism. In Australia this week, a couple has been stopped from adopting 2 children because of claims that they smacked them around and once even hit one of them with a wooden spoon. In Canada, the foster son of the mayor of Vancouver, British Columbia, is wanted for gun and drug charges. A Canadian CAS agent gets her charges dropped after she apologized for a heated altercation with a police officer. And a group of protesters in Ontario say that the Children's Aid Society destroys families and should be held accountable to an independent body just like the provincial ministers are. In England this week, an intensive fostering scheme in West Sussex claims the ability to return stolen children to their families in as little as 3 months. A pissed-off dad who is banned from seeing his daughter at Christmas gets busted for threatening to shoot a social worker. And parents are trying to get a 2-year-old psycho kid who they call Chucky expelled from her nursery after several violent attacks on other kids. In entertainment news this week, former child stars are speaking out against sexual abuse in Hollywood. In California, a woman gets busted in an elaborate scheme where she used a fake identity, then would get hooked up with men, move in, falsely accuse them of domestic violence, and rob their houses while they were in custody. In Idaho, a judge allowed cause a lawyer to continue defending a foster parent who stands accused in the death of a 2-year-old after questions about a possible conflict of interest arise. In Louisiana, a foster mother gets busted after leaving 2 kids in the car while she played blackjack in a casino. In New York, a $68 million settlement is proposed for 10 disabled kids who were fraudulently adopted then abused by Judith Leakin, who made a killing off of adoption subsidies while caging and beating the kids in Florida. A CPS agent from Oklahoma gets busted while smoking crack in his car, and several other Oklahoma DHS workers have been disciplined for a wide range of other reasons. The Illinois child protective industry is being criticized after failing to protect a 4-year-old who was beaten to death. An Oklahoma couple must give up their adopted child after the terms of the adoption was found to have violated the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978. In Ohio, the 11th District Court of Appeals overturns a lower court's decision and returns a 2-year-old boy to his father. And a teenager who suffered one hell of a beating at an Ohio group home dies. In Florida this week, 2 sisters who were separated while in foster care meet up for the first time in 34 years. In Arkansas, 4 kids ages 7 to 10 were left alone and a CPS agent refused to investigate. In Iowa, a father fights for his daughter for 2 years after CPS agents take her from her mother even though he's done nothing wrong. A Wisconsin father has his 9-year-old daughter returned to her after his ex kidnapped her and took her to Japan 4 years ago. In California, a 14-year-old disappears from a group home. And finally, tonight in South Carolina, a woman holds a 19-year-old male at gunpoint after discovering him half naked and in bed with her 15-year-old foster daughter. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.